People have a lot going on, you know. So let's get rolling. I have what the cool kids say, a slide deck for us to work through. And I am of the um, like I got home at midnight last night from going to Louisville for extravaganza meetings for next year's extravaganza. So like words are a little hard right now. But if you have questions about what we're talking about, like interrupt. Like you don't have to like raise your hand or whatever, but it's like because if you have a question, probably somebody else does too. So let's get this. Oh, it helps if I share the screen. There. All right. Do you see like the pretty screen or like the screen with the next slide?
We see the next slide.
Yeah.
I saw both.
I saw both.
Yeah.
Both.
Okay. Now do you see the pretty one?
Yes.
Okay. Um, so welcome. You're signed up to bring young people to the gathering, which just makes me so excited. Um, each gathering cycle is so different. But there's some things that are the same. And so no matter if you've been to like every gathering since the ELCA was formed in 1988 in San Antonio, or if this is your very first one, hopefully you will get some good information from this. I want us to do some quick introductions, name your contact, something you're excited about for the gathering, and something that like you're wondering about or nervous about. And I'll go first. I'm Kristen and I get to work at the Synod office, and all of you know that. And something I'm excited about is that we have participants going from our synod to table and mile, which hasn't happened in like at least the last 6 cycles. And I'm just so excited. And I get to go to mile as an adult leader with them. And so like I'm getting goosebumps. It's just I'm so excited to get to experience that with some of our Indigenous neighbors. So I'm excited about that. Um, there's some I'm wondering about are the numbers for the gathering are currently at about 16,000. And so I'm not nervous about that, but I'm wondering what it's gonna feel like. I know it's still gonna be a great gathering, but I wonder what it's gonna feel like. So that's me. And whoever wants to go next can go next.
I'll go. I'm Sarah. I serve at Our Saviors in Barnesville as the Director of Children, Youth, and Family Ministry. This is my fourth time taking youth as an adult leader. I am excited to go back to New Orleans. I love New Orleans. I think it's a great city. I am nervous about getting my crew there. We have not locked in transportation yet, and it is proving to be an expensive headache.
I'm Jill Steichen. I'm at Comstock in Rusted, south of Moorhead, for 14 and a half years. I'm excited to go for approximately my 50th anniversary since I was there as a sophomore in high school. So that is very fun. I'm excited we have a good group. For us, 6 is a good big group plus 2 chaperones. I'm nervous that we're watching airfares, and that is a headache because we haven't locked that in as well. And we have to fly because of some reasons. So that's the biggest nervous point, as well as fundraising.
I'll go next. I'm Kale Miller. I'm up in Red Lake Falls at Bethany Lutheran Church. We do have airfare that was confirmed yesterday, so that headache's off the table. However, still nervous about it. I have been a youth leader for the past 4 years and have not attended with a group. I went myself in high school, but and I'm actually not going with my group. A couple other parents want to experience it. So I'm traveling separate because I will be down there as a servant companion working at the gathering. So that's a whole different headache that has nothing to do with my group going. But the fact that I'm on here to learn more for my leader who is going is what I'm nervous about, but I'm excited to tell her, hey, I learned this. You should maybe pay attention and not lose our 15 kids.
I'm Elizabeth Hiller. I'm at Dilworth Lutheran, and I'm the senior pastor here, but we are without a youth minister right now. So if you could please tell your friends to apply, we will give them a really lovely call opportunity, or if they're lay people, that too. I am excited for going to New Orleans. That's where I went when I was a high schooler. And yeah, it was a great gathering then. I'm looking forward to it. I am also nervous about transportation. We have locked an airfare and a bus from Dilworth to Minneapolis, but I'm nervous about, we have a very large group, 35. So getting from the airport to our hotel, around all of that. So I'm hoping Chris has all of the answers for us today regarding transportation.
I'm Abby, and I'm from Our Saviors in Moorhead. I'm excited because I was doing our fundraising, like kind of checking where we were at, and we are like super close to being totally fundraised. And I know there's going to be a few more things added, but I was so excited yesterday when I kind of looked at all the numbers. So everything's kind of just falling into place, but I'm nervous because I've never taken a group of kids on a youth gathering before. But I'm going with a couple other people who have, so I'm hoping that they will be helpful.
Welcome, Pastor Lori. Ken is gonna go and be an example of what we're doing, but we're doing introductions, name, contact, something you're excited about, and something that you're wondering about or nervous about.
Ken DeCellier, I'm the Director of Faith Formation at Bethlehem Lutheran in Fergus Falls. I'm really excited for just a chance to have a joint kind of church thing going on, because we have my church and another church in Fergus Falls. So we have at least 2 out of the 5 going. A little nervous about that though, because with trying to do our monthly getting ready stuff, you can definitely tell that our kids have, done stuff before, whereas the other church, like their kids have done nothing and are just very kind of shy, and it's like prying to get stuff out. So nervous about how they'll gel together. But it'll happen. It's just obviously that nervousness around it.
Pastor Lori?
Hi, I'm Lori Albertson. I serve at Bethlehem in Yulin. And I'm excited for the gathering because I've never been to one. And just didn't have the opportunity growing up. I'm nervous a little bit about the flight prices because I've gotten a couple of changes and now I just got notification from the gal that set up the flights that there's another $54 added on each ticket. And we've got 28, including folks from Wild Rice Parish, on the same flight. So I get to be the bearer of that news, and the tickets were already kind of high. But yeah, so that was disappointing, but I guess the taxes and everything went up after the first of the year, and so I'm sure it's affecting a lot of people that are going, but you know, when you're working so hard and you've got the goal set for the fundraising, and then now boom, you know, we've got to come up with. I haven't figured it out. I just looked at the email, so I haven't figured out how much we're gonna have to add to that, but.
So did
So-
you already have the tickets and then the prices went up?
We had them secured,
Oh,
but
okay.
they're not paid in full.
Oh, okay.
We had to put a $100 deposit for each ticket down, and so that's paid, but because the entire amount isn't paid, we're still subject to any changes that occur until we can pay that balance off. So,
What are flight prices looking like, if you don't mind me asking?
well, they were at 730 per ticket. And our group, you know, when we figured out the busing and everything, it really didn't come out to be that much different, you know, because of the extra time involved and the extra stays. And so we unanimously decided that, okay, we'll do it. We'll just put a little extra work into the fundraising, and then we can travel together still with this other group. And now, and that was with one flight change. Now there's 2 flight changes, which is part of the reason for the increase. And so it's changing our time. We're not landing in New Orleans until 5:55, and that is assuming that it doesn't change again. And now they're up to $783.
Is that out of Minneapolis or Fargo?
Fargo. So
Okay.
we're paying a little more that way too, because we chose to go out of Fargo. But
I
that was
contacted,
worth it to us to have a 40-minute drive instead of a 4
Ken, I
hour.
contacted American Airlines Group Sales last week, and they could get me 12 of the 14 tickets that I needed. Not all 14, but 12 of the 14 out of Minneapolis for $1,073 per person.
Oh my God.
And I would
out of
have to
Minneapolis.
get all of my people to Minneapolis to get them on the airplane.
Yeah.
Ours
Ouch.
were over
All but
1,000
two of them,
each out of
2 of them couldn't
Minneapolis.
go.
Ouch.
So that's crazy to me. So so Red Lake Falls is 2 hours north of Fargo Moorhead about. We are flying out of Fargo at 457 a piece there's with taxes, but it's about 600 total round trip out of Fargo. And we also, I just talked to him yesterday to confirm, because the church a town over has a larger group going, and they got completely booted off their flights, and we were flying the same day. So I panicked, and then I begged, and then I might have cried. And then I was like, I just need to know if I have 1 seat or if I have 15. But our prices did not go up with our time change, but we also did a day ahead and a day after. So the week of, we're flying Monday to Monday, but with American, but they locked us in group rate cheaper than even Southwest was offering out of the cities. So
How many people do you have going?
we have 15 going.
Okay, because that's part of it too, I think. Because the way it was explained to me, because I'm going through leisure tours. It's a group that our local band director and choir director use whenever they take groups. And she explained to me that, because you know, one would assume that when you're traveling at a group, you're going to get a better rate. And she said it doesn't work that way necessarily. The more people you have that they're trying to accommodate seats for, the higher that price is going to go up, even though you're traveling as a group to secure them, because the airline has a certain amount that they need to clear, you know, for every flight and every ticket. And so the more people that you have in the group, that amount climbs. So I think that's why it was at 730, but now it's almost $800. But
Oof.
yeah,
So you guys, we used a travel agency. Like we went through a travel agent, we went through Gulliver's Travel, and I didn't do any of this, but the group Cassie did. And we booked them a long time ago. But if anybody wants to try contacting Our Lady, you can. She's great. She's I mean, just super easy to work with. And so if you want help, I can give you her information and you can call, and maybe that, I don't know. I'm glad we booked our flights. This sounds really stressful. I'm sorry.
Ken, you got your flights and stuff too, right? Because you were helping some churches.
Yeah, we did it back in November, and that's why I was curious what you guys were getting rate wise and stuff like that.
that's when we
But-
got ours secured. Ours too was in November. I think it was November.
Mhm.
Secured at that 730 for 28
Yeah.
cents.
Because we paid it all full right away, and we ended up being after taxes about $540 a person, but only 15 people, and that's out of Minneapolis, though.
Yeah.
But
And who is that with?
United.
We're flying United too.
Yeah, and ours, I think we booked back beginning of October, maybe when we first heard like Pathways wasn't doing their bus. And locked in with American then, but
I'm sorry, you all. I have to get my ticket still too. But I have to wait till the rest of our mile people, like we know our numbers and stuff like that, so we can. Oh, I'm sorry. All right, and Lori, before you hopped on, most people were wondering / nervous about transportation. So like you were on the same page as a lot of people. So I'm gonna go back to sharing the screen. So the main goal of the youth gathering is faith formation for teens. But the ministry goals is that young people are affirmed and challenged in their faith. They get to experience new perspectives. They ponder their vocation. They bond with their congregational group and learn more about the ELCA and their partners. And the theme is created to be. The theme passage comes from Psalm 139. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works that I know very well. Each day has a theme of the day. So it's brave, authentic, free, disruptive, and disciples. And it's in that order. So the first day, mass, that's primarily mass gathering, is brave. And then the last, which is primarily the sending worship, is disciples. And so everyone will have those themes no matter what day you're, whatever rotation our synod is in. So those are our themes and transportation. So we kind of already talked a little bit about how you're getting to New Orleans. I wonder about like the with I know I went to Florida with the DGF band and choir, and they worked with Sun Country and like chartered a plane. And I wonder if like I can start a group email with like those of you who still need transportation, like figure out planes. And then those for tonight. Who still need and like start that and maybe like, I don't know. But I'm gonna start thinking about that and look at the listservs to see if there's any good ideas. For flying. So, some pro tips. I didn't hear any of you taking buses. But for flying, for ground transportation, the gathering is offering a airport to hotel transfer for $25 a student. A person rather, each way.
And that, yep, each direction.
Yeah, so it'd be a total of $50. The airport is quite a ways away from the hotels. And so, Sarah was at the extravaganza. She actually attended the champion meetings for me. So she's gonna be popping in and saying things, because I didn't hear it from the horse's mouth. But, to like get a shuttle from those 15 passenger vans or trying to find Ubers for 30 people, it, you know, it's probably gonna be easier, for that. Where to sign up for that? There will be a place to sign up with the gathering. And once that's available, I can send that out to you all. It's not live yet. But I will make a note to make sure that that gets out to you. Sarah, take it away.
I believe it will be in your registration portal. You'll have the option to do it there. But yes, once that goes live, sending that info out would be helpful.
Do none of the hotels offer transfers? Because I thought I saw a couple of them that said they would be doing like hotel shuttles if you stayed at those specific hotels.
Like, was that at the hotel? Like saying, the gathering didn't say that.
Okay.
What hotel are you at? Or your people are at? Do you know?
Whoever's across the street from the dome.
Okay. So the Sheraton, where the extravaganza was, they had hotel shuttles, but it was like $40 for one way.
Okay.
And so, like you can do that. It's just a lot more expensive. And, they're not like charter buses. They're more like the nursing home bus, so it might not be, it's a nicer bus, but it's not gonna fit everybody sort of thing, and it'd be more expensive. So,
We, those leisure time tours, the ones that booked our flights for us, also booked a charter bus for us, from the to and from the airport.
Nice.
And it's $1,200 for the bus, but divided between the 28 of us, it's, only like $41, and that covers both ways.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
While you're in New Orleans, everything is walkable. There is a trolley that goes from the river, the one end of Canal Street, and it goes all the way towards the dome. So if you want to experience the trolley and want a little bit of a break, you can take your group on the trolley. If any of your people have mobility issues, the gathering will help the person with mobility issues and another person to take care of that transportation. Ubers were easy to get. They weren't cheap though, at all. There was a couple times when I was having dinner with friends and I had to get back quick for a meeting and I didn't want to walk by myself and I had to get back quick. And I took like an Uber by myself and it was not that far and it was like $12. So I wouldn't really plan on taking Ubers. And again, if you have someone with mobility issues or something happens and they need a mobility issues, the gathering will take care of that. Any questions about transportation, or Sarah, am I missing anything?
I was just gonna go back 2 steps in what you said. The trolley is cash only, so you cannot use a card to buy a ticket for the trolley.
We learned a lot of things about costs and how payment is done.
Do you know how
in
much
Norway.
a trolley ticket is?
$3.
Like one way, right?
It was $3 to get on, and I don't know that we would have gotten kicked off. I don't, but sure, one way. $3 to get on. I mean, we chose to get off and then walk back, but
There's another trolley that goes perpendicular to the one that goes up and down Canal, and it goes into like a beautiful neighborhood. And one time my dad and I were in New Orleans and we took that one, but we kept on it and it went into like a suburban neighborhood and it wasn't that exciting. So I would, make it a point to turn around and go back on that one if you wanted to do that. So that's transportation. Now, gathering programming. Because I like you all so much, this is the order of our days. I got special information. So this is the order of our days for the gathering. So the 3 days in the middle are 3 full days. We'll go Synod Day. And then the next day, interactive learning day. And then our final full day will be accompaniment day. Mass gathering every day, and then community life opportunities every day. Of the 5. I don't think there'll be much community life opportunities on the last day, but there'll be people like at the hotels. So talking through, I have another slide for Synod Day. But interactive learning will be at the convention center, which is along the Mississippi. And it is like 3 football fields large. They'll have ELCA World Hunger will have a big display. They've had Habitat home builds in there before, like putting together like the studs for houses. They've had like bumper cars in there and high ropes courses in there. And like the different ELCA colleges and just lots of different, from learning to just pure fun things. And so it is a wonderful day. And I have some information later, but if there was a day for you to plan a little extra excursion, it would be on this day. If you're not coming in early or staying late to do things, this would be the easiest day to do something a little extra. Right, Sarah? Yeah, okay. And then we have,
Either that day or Synod Day.
yeah, we won't know what time our Synod Day worship is until April 15th. But yeah, I'll talk more about Synod Day, that's the next slide. And then Accompaniment Day. Sarah, what did they share about Accompaniment Day at the Champions meeting?
Like just in general, or do you?
Yeah.
So the accompaniment team is working with lots of different organizations in New Orleans to set up these three set up projects in these three areas that are listed here on the slideshow: the advocacy, awareness, and action. Action is going to be what you think of when you think of a service project. You're doing something. Advocacy, you might be working for the people in New Orleans on their behalf. And awareness, you are learning more about the people, the history, the cuisine, the music, something. You're learning more about New Orleans and hearing stories from people that live there and how God is at work in their lives. These projects are spread out all over the city, and we're all, I think everybody, when we talked at the beginning, said that you're all flying. So the gathering will take care of transportation to get you where you need to be that day. If you've gone to if you've taken kids to a gathering before, I know for sure in Houston, I can't remember for sure in Detroit, but in Houston, a meal was included that day, and it is not this time. But there will be options for meals, if that makes sense. Like that, or do you want, I don't.
Yeah.
Oh, what kind of options? Like order ahead options, or like you're going to be in this
Like
neighborhood
either
and
you'll
there are
be
these.
done in time that you can be back near the hotels to eat, not order ahead options.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's not gonna be a full day thing, and all of them are in the morning, right, Sarah?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and then mass gathering, they are still working on some contracts, but some speakers and musicians have been announced. Dr. Michael Chan from Concordia College is one of the people on main stage. And yeah, they are in the past, there's been what Bishop Bill would say, some heartburn about some of the speakers that have shared in the past. And I know Deacon Tammy Jones West, who's this year's director of the gathering, has put a lot of effort into making sure that this year, like there still might be some of that heartburn, but it will definitely be a little bit more a broader view. Deacon Tammy used to serve in North Carolina, and that synod is a lot like our synod for socio-political views. And so she mentioned something about like making sure there was like a more rural view and different things like that. And so I think it will be a bit different this time. I don't know exactly what it will look like, but I know that they're being mindful of that. Community life, they're gonna, if you have been to a gathering, back in the day, this is nightlife. There's gonna be nightlife at the hotels. There's going to be people at each of the hotels, giving, just to be a point person. Some of the nightlife, and it's 3 hotels, right, that will have nightlife, Sarah? The Sheraton, Hilton Riverside, Marriott?
The other one's up by the dome.
Okay,
3 geographical
Yeah,
areas.
okay.
One near the dome, then the Sheraton where the E was, and then the Hilton Riverside, which aren't
It's
actually
by the
that far
convention
from each
center.
other, but
And so, yeah, there'll be, things like karaoke or dance parties and all of that stuff. So it will be good. Now, Synod Day. Synod Day is, very different if you've been to a gathering before. Synod Day, instead of a whole half of a day where people are in a ballroom, we are having a worship service together, and then there'll be other opportunities to do things. Like I said, our Synod Day is the first day, but we won't know until after April 15th if we have a morning or an afternoon Synod Day. So it's 10 or 2 are the times. But we won't know that until once all the registration closes, because they'll need to know sizes, to know where to do things. Synod Day is also a little bit different because we are having our worship with all of the synods of Minnesota. I had a worship planning meeting today, and with the other champions from Minnesota, and our synod is taking on the liturgy. And so I will need some volunteers, some of your youth who have some wonderful public speaking gifts. So if you have young people with public speaking gifts, we don't need to dig into it like right now, but I also don't want to wait till the last minute. So I will send an email out about that closer, after Easter for sure. And then we will get working on that because I want to set them up for success. Because there'll be about 2,500 people worshiping together. So it's going to be a pretty large worship service. And so I just want to make sure that they feel equipped to do a good job. And it will be a wonderful opportunity. It's not in the worship service, but I'm going to be putting together a Thanksgiving for baptism and getting water from the headwaters to use as a Thanksgiving for baptism. So that will be a neat thing as well that we'll have people to do that for. As Minnesota, as we gathered this morning, it was decided on that day we would be Minnesota hype people. So we are asking everyone who goes to the gathering and attends Synod Day to wear something Minnesota. It could be a sports, it could be, you know, a loon, it could be, you know, like whatever. It could be like, you know, DGF, it could be Barnesville Trojans, it could be, you know, I'm a Spud, like whatever it is, but like something Minnesota. So we can all kind of be Minnesota together in that room, which is kind of a neat thing. I will have an opportunity for people to order a synod shirt. And the day to wear that would be Interaction Center Day. So when we're walking around the Interaction Center, you would know who from, you know, the synod, you'd be like, oh, hey, that's someone, you know, that's one of us. So I will be working on that, and I will hopefully have it be that you would just order it directly from Old Lutheran, and have it taken care of that way. And then I'm gonna pass it to Sarah to talk about the scavenger hunt.
You would think after 4 years of having so much on Zoom that it wouldn't be so hard to unmute myself. I think that I would be better at that by now. Yeah, so the gathering is using an app called Goose Chase that you can download on your phone. It's super easy to use. I have an iPhone, so I know what it looks like on there. I don't know what it looks like on an Android, but I know that it works on an Android because I saw it work on an Android. So on, excuse me, on our Interaction Center day, that will be, no,
Synod
our
day.
Synod day, not our Interactive Center day.
Well, you can do stuff on your interactive.
You
center.
can. You have to forgive me. I'm 35 weeks pregnant. My brain is not my own. There will be different challenges in the app that you can complete to earn points. And it's a really great way to get to see the city and get to see things that you might not have otherwise seen. And I know that when we were in New Orleans for the champion meeting, they talked about there was the possibility that there would be a long version of the game and a shorter version of the game. And the long version would include things like from the time you leave your home congregation, and it would have like different travel, like an event, not an adventure. Like, what am I looking for?
Like stops or like
Yeah,
rest stops.
check in.
Yeah, check in.
Yeah, what's it anyway? And then yes, on Synod Day that there will be different a challenge. There we go, a challenge. Is it an app that everyone should download or just a group leader? Great question. We were in teams, at the E, we were in teams of 3 or 4. You could be a larger team. It's all just going to depend on how your crew works together. If you only have one person download it, I would say, I mean, I think that I'm pretty tech savvy and handy, but I know I've got nothing on my high schoolers. They know way more than I do, so I would put one of them in charge. So the answer to that question is really either. It could be your whole group as one. When I have taken kids in the past, I have, and this is outside of the scavenger hunt. Obviously, this is something new this cycle. We've assigned our kids to small groups to do like our nighttime devos and our check-ins, and just for ease of travel, that one adult has to count to 4 a lot of times instead of one adult having to count to 20 a lot of times. So you could do, if you're already doing small groups, you could have your small groups each do the scavenger hunt on their own. That's really
Sarah, can you talk about some of the things on the scavenger hunt, because they're being very intentional about what I'm not 35 weeks pregnant, but I have travel head.
So like when we went, and obviously they'll be different than what we did when we were down there for the E. But when we were down there for the E, there were specific places that we had to check in at. So one of the stops, one of the challenges was to find the convention center. One of the challenges was to find the Superdome. One of the challenges was to find. Ken, what statue is in the park that we had to go find? You did it too. That's why I'm putting you on the spot.
No, and I pulled it up actually. So it's like one of them was like meet a new friend, decide how your team's going to navigate was one of them. A statue of a Frenchman. So you had to find like just different things. Something extra, where's your hotel? Yeah, find the dome. Something that encapsulates the spirit of New Orleans. Finding all these other things. I only see the ones that I completed, not the ones that are remaining. I had to find this cool little rainbow phone and some other little things
Oh
that
yeah,
were
there
just
was
kind
a
of all
rainbow
around the
phone
city.
booth.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
This summer there'll be like hydration stations that the gathering sets up. For people to fill up their water bottles. That will be one.
There's
Some
a
of it.
word that starts with an L that I can't pronounce. But it's somewhere to take a rest.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
It's a French
Um,
word, and I'm not
but
good with other languages, any of
I
them.
can spell it. Like, yeah.
It looks
something
like long nap. It
Mhm.
looks like long nap, but that's not how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
And there are some of them are something you have to take a picture of, and you have to take a picture in the app. You can't take a picture from your camera roll that you took 2 days ago. You have to take a new picture. Some of them are, they want you to write an answer, and some of them could be like a multiple choice. Like, is it A, B, C, or D? And that's how
So
you.
it's not like just running around taking pictures. Some of them are like, look
have to
at
be
the,
thoughtful.
yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
There'll be more information coming out about that too.
And Goose Chase is a free app. You don't have to pay for it, and you can make your own scavenger hunts for free on there as well if you wanted to make one and test it out with your group before you go. I peeked ahead in the slideshow when Chris sent it to me, and there will be a question about getting ready meetings. You could certainly do a Goose Chase scavenger hunt at one of your getting ready meetings so that everybody's familiar with it before July.
Any questions about Synod Day? Oh,
For those who went to New Orleans in January, do you have a list or suggestions for what to do for excursions to fill the time
coming
either?
up.
Good, thank you.
Also, once I know if Synod Day is in the morning or in the afternoon, I'm going to try to put together an optional Synod meal somewhere that you can buy into. And so yeah, I'm gonna try. There'll probably be a cap on it because we have like 450 people from our synod going. And a lot of the restaurants wouldn't fit that. And so I know most of the restaurants are like these itty bitty mom and pop places. And so there's that. That will be coming after April 15th. That's now on to mass gatherings. So there are some new things for mass gatherings especially because of the world we live in. If you've been to a gathering in New Orleans before, or any gathering for that matter, the security has been at the door to get into the building. In New Orleans, there's this place called Champion Square, which is like kind of like a town square outside of the dome, kind of where people would set up, like at US Bank, it would be where like the longhouses and where people like before they go in. It's just the space around the dome, but it's also like secure. And so to get into Champion Square, there'll be security. And so there won't be the bottleneck into the doors at the dome. They are having a clear bag policy for the gathering this year for mass gathering. And I have that. I will post. I need to build out our synod's gathering page, but there's like a whole PDF on like what exactly it is. But Old Lutheran has these bags available, and they're to code of what they are, and so these are options. You can have, what's the scale again, Sarah? Like your wallet would fit like 6 by 3?
Like a 4 by 6.
Okay. And so even if you have a bag like this, you still can't have like big things in there covered up.
This is
You know, like that's as large, what Sarah's holding, that's as large as what you can have that's not viewable, if that makes sense. And so like I'm probably gonna get this one. I'm gonna ask Old Lutheran if they can have like a model with these on. Or, you know, like how some of the websites have like, you know, showing like Vera Bradley, like showing what it looks like and all of that stuff. Because like I can't wrap my head around this. But yeah. And I think some like of the little belt bags would work. But just to be like very cognizant of the size of that.
Chris, quick question, and I know there's one about like if it's that, is it Lululemon, like there's a size that matters. This might be not for the whole group, but what if it is a medical supply bag that a youth has to have on them? Does that also have to be clear if it's hiding medical?
So, what we were told at the champion meeting is that there will be one security station. If there's a medical need like that in your group, there will be one security station that you'll be made aware of which one it is. And that is the one that your person that has that need would go to. I believe that whatever, like they don't need to put all of their medical things in a clear bag, but they do need to go to
that one spot.
That one security station.
Okay.
But we can follow up. I can follow up with that too.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Because that's like such a specific but necessary question that I want to make sure that we have the best answer for that. Thank you for asking that. To share screen when. Sorry. There we go. Have your people leave their Stanleys at home. Like since you'll be going through security and having a clear bag, having a plastic water bottle is just gonna make life so much easier. So like, I'm gonna leave my Hydro Flask at home and bring a Nalgene. Because then I don't have to worry about taking things out of my bag. Just to streamline the process. Yeah. And people walking around with Stanleys with the straw out and stuff, you gross. Anyways, so yeah. Plastic water bottles as well, yeah, and I have mine too, but it's in my office. Um, I'm not walking around New Orleans with that. And so again, it's not like I'm not telling you to mandate that, but it'll just be much easier for your people instead of having to like jumble around. Offering, there'll be a monetary offering collected at the closing worship, and that typically goes towards something in the New Orleans area, something that we will learn about. Typically there's something in the interaction center with ELCA World Hunger that there's a place to share funds with. And the in-kind offering, this cycle is going to be putting together hurricane kits for the people along the Gulf Coast. And Region 3 is what we are in, and those we are to bring battery packs, like cell phone, like power banks. And so
Could you
that,
clarify that? What is that?
So I was gonna I'll put stuff up on the youth gathering website on our website once I have some really good information. But like the power banks that do I have one in here? Like that I take when I travel and I plug my phone into it and it powers my phone. It's a rechargeable thing, but I'll put out some good information about that. Because I saw recently some that like you don't need to charge ahead of time, and I feel like that would probably be better. Sarah's looking at something. What are you looking at, Sarah?
Oh, I thought we had gotten a handout with the like a picture of each thing. Like
Yeah.
here's Region 1 and a picture of what you're supposed to bring, and Region 2 and a
Yeah.
picture. Yeah, but
I
was
saw
hoping to
that
just
somewhere,
provide
but I
nuisance
couldn't
here.
find it before this meeting. I've been looking for it for a week.
Well, and
'cause
didn't they say we could order online and have it be sent there so we didn't have to bring it? Like there was a link that they were going to give us so we wouldn't have to pack it in our bags.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And this is something that I'm going to put out for people in other congregations that don't have young people going. That this is a way they can support the gathering as well. And so yeah, I'll put out more information about that. Some tips for the gathering. The main one I think is like one I'm thinking of is the past couple of cycles, I've had young people tell me that they were sad that the adults were on their phones the whole time during the mass gatherings. And so just be mindful and have your other adult leaders make sure that they're paying attention, and that is always a good role model for the young people. Another tip is if you have people with that can get overstimulated or have needs, there will be a room, a low sensory room available And that will be easily marked and put out there, for people who need that as well. Sarah, any other notes, like tips about mass gathering? No?
Just like from personal experience, my groups have always, we've tried to be really intentional about sitting on the floor one night to have that experience, to sit in the lower part of the bowl one night to have that experience, and to sit in an upper level one night to have that experience. So that you don't always have to sit. I know that we're Lutheran, but you don't always have to sit in the same spot. And that you can have some very cool experiences based on where you sit.
Was there one day they were talking about having people go in a certain door so you could have,
Want to say accompaniment day?
I feel like it's a compliment day.
That you
That-
have a better chance of being on the floor if you want it.
Yeah, you don't have it. But if-
Mhm.
Mhm. And New Orleans, I love New Orleans. New Orleans is one of my favorite places to go, and I've been there a few times just because. But I love taking young people there because it is so different than Northwestern Minnesota. And it is such just a neat experience. There are definitely places and times I wouldn't want, I'd want to make sure that your young people aren't in or at. But if you have good covenants and you have good adult leaders and mutual respect, it shouldn't be an issue. And so a couple of things about New Orleans. It's delicious. This is some of my more recent experiences with food. So jambalaya, and red beans and rice, bread pudding. Every place almost has some sort of eggs Benedict, and then the famous Cafe du Monde beignets. One thing I learned or noticed rather on this last trip to New Orleans in January was how high the food prices were. I know eating out is not a cheap thing and I'm kind of frugal. So I get sticker shock sometimes about things. But I was surprised at the cost of meals, even like the burger place across the street from the hotel is like a carry out fast food place, and the prices were kind of high. Another thing about food, everywhere only wants carts except Cafe du Monde. Sarah was gonna so you'll need a card to pay for meals. And then some cash to get beignets at Cafe du Monde. Cafe du Monde is open 24/7. The main Cafe du Monde that's across from Jackson Square. But yeah, Sarah, what else about food?
There's also a Cafe du Monde in the Riverwalk Center, and one at the airport in New Orleans. The original one across from Jackson Square is the best. I tried all three of them in January just for you so that I could report back.
Isn't that so nice of her that she went to all three for you?
Yeah, that's
So there's places like the Riverside Center that is right next door to the Hilton Riverside and by the convention center. And they have a food court And it's a pretty decent food court, right, Sarah?
It is. I would say there were 8 to 10 food options in the food court of the Riverwalk Center. And I mean, like Chris said, it's expensive to eat out anywhere. I thought it was pretty comparable to like going to the mall in Fargo. I mean, I got the one lunch I had there, I got chicken strips and fries and a beverage, and it was $11. So, but I mean, I got 3 chicken strips and I'm not a high school boy, so.
Jill?
So what do you recommend? Should all of our kids have a credit card? What's the best way to do it and how much to plan for?
Yeah, so that will depend on how you were planning on taking care of food.
No
I,
plans.
what? No plans
No
of right
plans.
now? So when I would take, students from Glendon, I would, well, I always took the Pathways bus. I didn't fly, but you can like do Instacart. And I would always get like granola bars and juice boxes and some like other breakfasty but shelf stable breakfast stuff and have that be breakfast at the hotel while people are getting ready in the morning and have that just be something that like I covered. And then I always covered one meal a day. And it was typically dinner, but sometimes it was lunch and it was like at a sit down meal and I paid with the card. And then the other one was like they were on their own. I know some churches have their students pay for everything. I just know that like a big group at a restaurant and having 15 tickets, is kind of a lot.
And we learned in New Orleans in January that they won't always split your check 15 ways. They might split your check 2 or 3 ways, but they might not split it 15. So.
And so I think I know some larger groups for meals will split into small groups to eat. And then like the adult leaders could have like a card. And I know like a lot of credit unions, you could do like a prepaid card, like a gift card, but there aren't charges oftentimes with credit unions. So if you know someone who's has a credit union connection, you could, load money onto a prepaid credit like gift card and use that as the card. You could do that for each youth for like the other spending money if they don't have access to a debit or credit card of their own. Sarah, did they have like Apple Pay?
I don't use Apple Pay, so I should have paid closer attention to that.
But I don't remember like noticing it.
Does anybody else know what you are doing in particular?
I will, our history has been a lot like Christina just described, where in the cost of what the kids have already paid to the church will include breakfast each day, whether that means that I'm bringing church cash with to go to Cafe Du Monde one day, or ordering from like Sam's Club and having it delivered to the hotel for breakfasty type foods. And then we'll cover one other meal on my church credit card. And then I will have my kids have either prepaid gift cards or debit cards for their one meal a day that they are responsible for.
And how much do they get on that?
Um, I'll probably advise them $20 a day just because you don't know how hungry they're going to be or what they're going to want. But that's on the family. That's not something that's included
Oh,
in.
they get that themselves.
Yep. Yep. I'll give them a guesstimate of how much to put on there, but that would be their responsibility.
Can I ask one more question? I'm not trying to take all the time, but how much do you expect the families to pay outside of the fundraising? Anybody on who's still online?
My family's only paid $150 each, and then we fundraised the rest. But we did a lot of fundraising, and we had some money in the account from previous fundraising, and our endowment committee gave us a bunch of money. So I think we have a kind of maybe different scenario, because $150 is not that much, I found out. And that's when we thought that it was going to be a lot cheaper. I was being told like a guesstimate, and that guesstimate ended up being like $1,000 less than what it actually is. So I probably would have had it be like $300 a family, had I known. But
We required the families to each pay the $150 registration down payment.
Mhm.
And then the food costs, we decided to have that as a personal fundraiser, either like we're currently doing butter braids, and to provide incentive for the kids and chaperones to sell. The proceeds or the profit from those butter braids for each individual will go toward their food costs based on the advised amount. What was it? Was it $40 a day? I think they suggested on the site. Was that it, or was it more than that? I can't remember now.
I would do more than $40 if you're going to do,
I can't, well, it was, I used the
Yeah.
amount that was ever, what was
Yeah.
suggested. I don't remember what it was. Was it 60? I don't know.
it was probably 40.
Yeah, but now, okay, so it was 40, but you would suggest more per day.
Or just have like a little extra just in case.
Yeah. But now after this conversation, you know, I mean, I think we'll still approach it that way, but we'll pool that money with the suggestions that you've offered, you know, for the cards and so forth. But as far as family responsibility, that's the decision that we made, was the registration down payment and the food.
Lori, that's what we did as well. We made them pay the registration down payment to ensure they wanted to go. And then we took kind of our brainchild of a budget and just divided it per person and said, if we don't fundraise, this is what you're responsible for. But that was also before we knew if we were flying or taking a bus. So, like I said, yesterday we just confirmed our transportation. So now we can at least go back and say, here's where we're truly at. But we had planned kind of like 1 or 2 large group meals the whole week, and everything else was on their own. So we have a nice little number for the whole group to go out, but that's kind of the last of our fundraising efforts, just to help out the leaders. If we can get there, great. If we can't, the kids know it's on, all the meals are on their own.
We, I don't know where you're all at with your fundraising, but I mean, we're obviously still working on it. But we, sent a note, explaining, you know, what we were doing and how many kids were going and so forth to the local fire department. And I just received a check for $5,000 from Euland's Fire Department, as a donation toward our total fundraising goal. So pretty awesome. So if you haven't
That's
done
awesome.
something like that,
Mm.
I would say give that a try. Because I think that most fire departments have money that they need to donate annually, you know. That's my understanding anyway. So if you have a local FD, it might be worth the effort to put the ask out. And of course, in a smaller community like this, the fire department is always willing to engage and provide help and bring out their big grills and, you know, for different events and so forth. But I was not expecting that size of a gift. So it was shed a few tears over that one. Happy tears.
Another note is that there's a lot of restaurants in New Orleans, especially around the French Quarter, but they're not like the chain restaurants that we have around here. Um, they're a lot smaller. Like think the restaurants in downtown Fargo instead of the restaurants like around the mall. Wouldn't you think, Sarah, like that would be a better description? So like if you're having, if you think trying to feed 40 people at every meal is going to be an easy thing. Like Sarah and I ate with 2 other people at this place I really wanted to eat at. And we had to wait like 45 minutes for just a table of 4. And it wasn't even like it was busy, but like it's just they're smaller places. I remember there was a Denny's kind of close to the dome that we ate at one time, but there's not like the chain restaurants. There's not a lot of fast food. And so you're gonna have
I would say that it would be really beneficial, now that you know your hotel assignments, to pull it up on a map and zoom in and see what's around it. You know, even like this smaller place that Christina's talking about that we waited so long to get into. I mean, we knew that it was going to be a wait because we researched it a little bit before we went and we knew how big it was and when their busy times were. So I would say that that would be a really good use of time, would be to think about what's around your hotel. And you will notice on the map that there are places like Domino's and Pizza Hut all over downtown. Don't bank on ordering late night pizza. We did in Houston and we got pizza at 3:30 in the morning because they were so busy. So if you like pizza at 3:30 in the morning, that's fine. But if you were hoping for pizza at 11 p.m. instead of 3:30 in the morning, that's not really what you want.
and also don't I know the gathering is talking to hotels about having like some food available, but again, that's hotel prices, which isn't very, it's not fiscally responsible or very frugal for that. But also I know some hotels in the past have had like worked with someone and just had like pizza there that you could buy like a box of pizza, you know, and they just had it there to go out. And so yeah, there's a lot of different things for food. I would, if you have people with a lot of allergies, I would read a lot of menus in advance. Because there's a lot of seafood. So if you have shellfish allergies, in your group, that would be something to look for. Oh, and another thing, this is what I was trying to remember. When you're looking at the map for the restaurants around you, look to see where like the closest CVS would be to you or the closest Walgreens. Because then like if you need some Band-Aids or if you need, you know, feminine products for somebody or whatever, the closest place to go. And there's quite a few around. So yeah. All right. Any other questions about food? It's a lot. I love the food there, but yeah. Okay. Seeing none. Things to do. I when I've taken people to New Orleans from Glendon, I rode the Pathways bus, so we didn't have time before or after to go, and so we like snuck things in during different times. So one thing that I think is a really good thing is to go on a carriage ride. The carriages are parked right outside of Jackson Square, across from Cafe Du Monde. And you get a little tour of the French Quarter. The kids get to go down Bourbon Street, parts of Bourbon Street, without it being ridiculous or full of urine or full of people being inappropriate. But they can still say they went down Bourbon if that's something that is important to some of your young people. And you also learn, depending on who your driver is, because there isn't like a set, like every driver is different and will show you different things. But there's places where they sold slaves. There's places where like different things like that. So you get some history as well. I saw when Brad and Angelina lived there, I sat there on one of my tours and stuff. And so it's a neat way. It's not terribly long. It's something that you could do on an interaction day or on accompaniment day. Yeah, and so you would just go up to the driver of the carriage and work, like negotiate with them and hop on and get the tour. But yeah, it's a great way to see New Orleans without wandering around the French Quarter. Yeah, you're up on wheels and stuff. And then a swamp tour is kind of a neat thing. I've used the honey, oh, what's it called, Sarah? Honey. Oh my gosh, I should have looked at that. Again, midnight, whatever. There's a great swamp tour. It's called, I think, Cajun Encounters is like the main thing. And they have a bus that will pick you up at your hotel and take you to the swamp tour and then bring you back to your hotel. And I've typically done this on interaction day. Like we went to interaction day right away in the morning, did stuff until like 1, and then went on the swamp tour. And so that was a really neat experience to see and experience the other part of the Mississippi. They have like the stick houses in there, so you see how some people live and all of that. So I wouldn't suggest skipping something to go do something though. All of the gathering things are very intentional about what they are. So like I wouldn't skip totally interaction center day. I wouldn't totally skip, you know, synod day or whatever. But finding times in those to do things would be okay, especially if you're flying and don't have the time. Any questions? Yeah,
If we wanted to plan a swamp tour, do you suggest that we book it far in advance?
yeah.
Cause like we're flying back on Sunday
Mhm.
instead of Saturday, so we're gonna plan an excursion for Saturday afternoon.
Mhm.
So the sooner, I'm guessing, the sooner you can come up
Yeah.
with the decision of what we're gonna do, the better, right?
Yeah, and
Okay.
book it. Both Sarah and I went to the World War II Museum. It was amazing, but don't go to it. It is 7 buildings. It's expensive to go. And I went to less than half. And it took me 4.5 hours. And I'm like a history nerd. And I loved it, but I was toast afterwards. So like when I go to New Orleans again, just for me, I'm gonna go again and see the things I missed, but do not go to the World War II Museum with your young people. Sarah, you were gonna say something.
It's very cool and it's very well done, but it's a
It's
lot.
one of the best museums I've been to.
Mhm.
Like, it's amazing, but don't go. Like, I want you to go, but don't go.
And so I just have a little brochure here from Cajun Encounters that Christina was talking about. They have all three. You can do swamp tours, you could do city and cemetery tours, or you could do ghost tours, all with them. It's just CajunEncounters.com. And Ken's got plantations too. I don't have that one, Ken. Way to go, buddy.
And river cruises. Sarah did a river cruise with her group. You want to share about that?
River cruise with my group last time. We took a riverboat up to a plantation. I don't know, my view on this is probably skewed because it rained that day, and so it wasn't a very great experience, but that was because of the rain, and not because of what it was. But we did that on Interaction Center Day. So we did the Interaction Center in the morning, and then the river boats, so like the big river boats with the paddle behind them, they launch right from the Riverwalk Mall and Convention Center. So it's not, you can walk there. It's not hard to get to. And it was cool. This time, we at the champion meeting got to do View Orleans, and that's VUE, not view with your eyes. This is in the Hilton Riverside, not in the Hilton Riverside, the one next door to it, the Four Seasons. And it's an interactive experience on the first 2 floors where you can learn about the history of New Orleans, the cuisine, the music. They have a interactive screen that is 9.5 feet tall and something like 25 feet long. And you just point at it. You point at the picture that is in front of you and it tells you more information about it. It's very cool. And then you get to take the elevator up to the 33rd floor of the Four Seasons, and it's a 360-degree indoor observation deck, and they have viewfinders, and whatever you point the viewfinder at, it will tell you what you're looking at. And then you can go up one more floor, and it's a 360-degree outdoor observation deck, and so you can see with your own eyes, not just through a window, all of that. If that's something you want to do, I would call them and ask them about a group rate. A single ticket was it somewhere, I want to say $28, but when we went as at the champion meeting, we were told that they got a group rate for us, which was less than $20 a person. So
What was that one called?
View Orleans, View VUE.
Okay, thank you.
See that. It's hard to see, but it's very cool.
And Abby and Ken went on a ghost tour, right? You want to share about that? That's something I've never done in New Orleans.
Take your kids on the kids one, not the adult one. Because they'll go into some pretty gruesome details in some of the stuff about it. And it's mainly historical part. You're not like wearing goggles looking for ghosts. They're just giving you, it's a history tour pretty much. But more so on the like darker side of New Orleans. So if you do one, make sure you book it with the one that's meant for kids. But one tip I do suggest too is like when you're researching all these things, ultimately ask your kids what they would like to do. Because like I know myself as a leader, there are things where I'm like, oh, this would be great, but the kids might just not like it. So on our next get together meeting, that's what the kids are doing. We have 5 options and they're gonna make sales pitches to each other and decide the 2 activities that we'll end up doing.
And the ghost tour that we went on was a walking ghost tour. So, like they're gonna have to walk if you do it, which it was fine. It wasn't that much walking, but if you're walking all day and then you go on a walking tour, you might get some complainers. But it was so cool. And it was $25 a person. And I totally want to go again. It's awesome.
Abby really likes Halloween and stuff though. All right. Any questions about things to do? I really don't recommend wandering around the French Quarter. It's not, yeah, I've never felt like it was dangerous, but like there's definitely a line you get to that you're like, I don't think that this is the greatest part. And I would never be alone in the French Quarter.
And if you have kids that are dying to say that they walked down Bourbon Street, because that's like, I'm just thinking about the boys that I'm taking and like that's what they want to see. Take them in the day. Go at 2 in the afternoon.
Or
I know
take
you're
up early in the morning.
right.
So
And it's
they
really gross early in the
so
morning.
they
I mean, it's
get
gross late at
grossed
night.
out, you know?
Unless your hotel happens to be on Bourbon.
Yeah.
Unless your hotel happens to be on Bourbon. Then is yours,
Your
Ken?
hotel? Oh. So there's that. They feed the alligators marshmallows, and that just always confuses me. All right, so how to make sure that you are setting yourself up for success. That to me is so important. So we have the gathering has a G-Learn course. It is online. It is great. I especially like the adult leader sections. But I would make sure you as the trip leader go through all of them, but I would even have your adult leaders go through so they're all on the same page. Maybe not like, you know, the fundraising things and things like that, but definitely like the goals and the themes and stuff about the the days, just so they're kind of eyes wide open. To set them up for that. Because the better you equip your adult leaders, the better gathering you're gonna have. And if they can't take the time to do a few lessons on G-Learn, then, you know, then maybe they don't need to be an adult leader. And I know that might be a little harsh, but adult leaders can make or break a gathering pretty easily. Yeah. So you can find the G-Learn, you can sign up for that on the ELCA gathering site. And I think it's pretty good. So there's that. Getting ready. Are you using the getting ready materials? Pastor Elizabeth is. Okay. Can some. Okay. So I led the Pathways trip one year for Pathways, and I've been on the Pathways trip a couple of times, and I could tell which groups had done work ahead of time to get ready to go and which one didn't. And it was so apparent. The adult leaders were lost, the kids didn't know what was going on. So I think, especially since you're all flying, you won't have that bus bonding time. That helps a lot with team building. I think, I don't think you need to use all of the getting ready materials, but I would suggest using some of the nuggets out of them, but making sure that you're doing team building activities outside of fundraising. So I one year I did I took my people to the headwaters of the Mississippi. One year we just had a fun day in Detroit Lakes together. Like we played at the beach and went to Zorbugs, and stuff. And so I think it's really important to have that group togetherness. You can use them monthly, you can use them in a retreat setting. I used them in a retreat and like plowed through a bunch of them one time. And so there's just like a lot of ways to use them. So yeah, if you haven't used them, use them. And this is a great way for your adult leaders to be involved as well. To get them bonded with your group. Make sure that they're part of it. Any questions about your getting ready material? No. Okay. All right. Congregation connections. One great way for your congregation to be involved with your young people outside of their support, probably through fundraisers with you, is for there to be prayer partners for your young people. I've heard some just beautiful stories about that. And you can do that in a lot of ways. You don't have to make it a lot of work, or you can, make it more intentional. But what a beautiful way to have a young person know they're being prayed for, and equipping an adult in the congregation to pray for a young person. A beautiful intergenerational thing. The gathering puts out a lot of social media that is easy to share. The gathering will put all of their mass gatherings live on their social media. I used to share it on Linden's Lutheran's page when I worked there, to say like worship with us during the gathering. And so it's a great way to include your congregation in the gathering. And then I think it's always important to do something when you get home. And maybe something more than a youth Sunday, maybe something more than, you know, stockholders dinner, or I don't know if people still do those. That was always a successful fundraiser. But like be intentional, like camp and all those other things. Going to something like a youth gathering can be like a mountaintop sort of experience. And it's easy when you come home to kind of get back in the groove and forget. Your muscle memory goes back to before. And so to find little connections, whether it's like a little reunion a month later where you get together, and if there was like a fun thing that you always did together, like one of the mission trips I did, we always had smoothies. And so we had a smoothie reunion and we got together and, caught up, and things like that. So having intentional connection points afterwards. And again, not just to plan Youth Sunday and all of that stuff. And important to not just have it be performance, right? Like a Youth Sunday, like a stock dinner or a thank you, whatever. But yeah, to continue on those relationships, because that will just build more, right? And grow. So there's that. And if you have questions or need to bounce ideas, that's something that I'm really passionate about. So I will happily chat with you about ways to bring the gathering home with you. I'm not going to share my screen again, but the last side says questions, and it's the pretty purple color. But I'm not going to share that one because I don't need to. What sorts of questions do you guys have? I've been talking at you now for like 2 hours, and I'm sorry it's taken so long, but it's a lot of stuff too. Yeah.
In your experience, do you think flights will go down? I was told by somebody that, 45 days before your flight is like an optimum time to get them. Like, do you think it's risky to wait any longer? Like, we only have 9 people.
I don't know. Like everything is so different in today's world. Like I just don't trust anything. Which is like terrible to say. Like I don't want to give you bad information, Pastor Jill. And so Pastor Elizabeth, are you saying something? Oh, okay. I like the idea of maybe talking to a travel agent, or like my brother uses his AAA all the time. And I know they have travel agents. So if you are a AAA member or someone on the trip is one, talking to them and maybe just bouncing ideas off of them, that's a perk of your membership. Because you're not like, it's a perk of your membership, so you're not like out things. Yeah. I'm really anxious about the flights per mile now. You know, and we're trying to get even more indigenous neighbors to go, and I really want all of them to go, but I hope it doesn't get priced out for that. So hopefully that 45-day thing is right, Pastor Bill. But I'm not gonna hold my breath either. So yeah.
We used this leisure times tour, Jill, and it was, they're just charging $25 per person to make those, you know, the flight and the charter bus arrangement for us. I thought that was really reasonable and it took some pressure off of me.
It took a lot of work
Yeah.
off of your shoulders.
Yeah.
Mm. I've never used AAA as a travel agent. My brother does all the time. So
Well, I have one leader responsible for airlines and he knows how to do the app to see where the prices are for a particular flight. And one leader is doing food, you
okay.
know, so we are kind of dividing up.
Okay. Got it. Mm. I wonder, sometimes flying from a different airport is cheaper too. So like going over to, you know, Bismarck instead of going to the city. I know and I wouldn't do this on this trip, but for you. But I know like people who have drove up to like Winnipeg to fly to Hawaii because it was like $600 cheaper a ticket. And so maybe being more open to where you fly out of. I know Duluth has flights out of Duluth too. And stuff. So I looked in Allegiant, or is it Sun? Does Allegiant have flights to New Orleans? I saw, or was it Sun Country? It's one of those I saw that has flights too, not like one of those. But the days weren't awesome. It was
That's
like
the hard part
once a
with
week.
Allegiant or Sun Country is you don't have the options as far as flight days.
Yeah.
They're a lot cheaper, but that's one of the reasons they can keep their tickets down. And for this trip, it wasn't really, well, unless you miss a day. You know, it wasn't really doable. So, but I think Allegiant does fly to New Orleans, but not from Fargo. I think it's just from Minneapolis. I could be wrong. I don't remember for sure, but
When we looked, when you just mentioned the Winnipeg option, we're closer to Winnipeg than Fargo. But then you got to consider taking teenagers who are not
Yeah.
your children across an
Well,
international
yeah, and
border.
that's why I said I wouldn't do it on
Yep.
this trip.
It is much cheaper I won't lie. It is a lot cheaper to do it, but then you got to deal with teenagers and border patrol and the teenage boys who have smart mouths and don't know to just shut up and hand over their papers. Like, yeah. But it is much cheaper.
Well, I have a constitution meeting. So
Right. Well,
I have a
thank you for
constitution
all
meeting.
your time. Let's all pray us out. All right. Dear God, thank you for this time together. Thank you for these amazing adult leaders who are using their time and energy, and their grit to prepare to take young people to New Orleans this summer and who walk alongside these young people. We pray that the rest of the trip planning goes well. We pray for uneventful trips. We pray for open hearts and minds. We pray for adult leaders to be equipped and to be patient and ready. We pray for the world that we live in, that we give thanks for this Lenten season. and the week that we call Holy, leading up to Easter. Bless us all, bless our families, and all the things that are heavy on our hearts. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Ken, can you stay on for a second?